Good evening and welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Riches. Tonight we'll be looking at the business of bands and how music makes money. I'll be talking to Fiona Poulton about family history, and Dan Kemp will be in this very room with all the sports. But first, the news headlines with Richard Morris.
Hello, in the headlines today, an emotional day for RAF Waddington and two new art exhibitions are taking place in Beverley. Diversions are in place in the Ryby Square area of Grimsby. Access from some of the roads to Ryby Square has been removed or has been changed to one way as part of the council's plan to ease congestion in the town centre. The navigator of an RAF Vulcan said it was an emotional day after flying its final flight from RAF Waddington. The plane left on Friday and is being retired in 2 years' time, so will not return as the Waddington Air Show isn't going ahead in 2015. Navigator Andy Marson started his career on the Vulcans and said the experience was emotional.
Very emotional day. Yes, I started my Air Force career here on Vulcans at RAF Waddington. So again, it's going to be emotional for everybody involved. The last time to see this great, iconic, four-engined, British-designed bomber take off from RAF Waddington, its home.
Everyone knows the Vulcan lives here. This is its home, and it's the last time it's ever going to fly for me. It's going to be a very emotional day for everybody.
Well, I've grown up with this aircraft. I've watched it from when I was a small boy, the age of 13, if you like. I've seen every kind of Vulcan there is landing and taking off at Waddington over the years.
Well, because I've been brought up seeing it at air shows and stuff, it's disappointing not to see her. But yeah, it's going to be one of them things that people are going to miss.
The Conservative group leader for North East Lincolnshire has described the council's current lack of local plan as a disaster. The local plan outlines where developments should take place, and the council is under pressure to identify more land for housing development by central government. Councillor Jackson says that the current state of affairs is threatening to decimate greenfield sites in Waltham.
Developers can take the opportunity to apply for planning permission on all these greenfield sites that I've mentioned, and it puts us in a very weak position if we turn down those applications. The chances are the government inspector on appeal would approve them. Now, if we had an up-to-date local plan which had been agreed by local people, that would put us in a much stronger position to be able to turn down greenfield site developments in the rural areas that we don't want. Now, the concern I have is that today on the Cabinet agenda there's an item talking about the timetable for the new local plan, and it isn't going to be ratified until the end of 2017, 3.5 years away. That's far too long, leaves us exposed for far too long, and Cabinet needs to do something to speed up that process.
A man is in a critical condition after an incident on Princes Road in Cleethorpes. The 23-year-old was discovered by a police community support officer outside the apartments on the road at 7:42 in the morning on Sunday. Police are asking for any witnesses to come forward. Cats and dogs may not always be the best of friends, but musical moggies are now raising funds for canines. The outdoor charity concert, starring 60s band The Moggies and acoustic duo Mia and the Moon, will perform at the Mount Tea Room in Castlethorpe. Funds will go to help the Jerry Green Dog Rescue Charity. The event will take place on August the 16th at 5:30 p.m. Two new exhibitions are going on display in Beverley. A new permanent display called Shaping Beverley, as well as the current exhibition called Keeping the Home Fires Burning, officially open on Wednesday the 23rd of July. We spoke to Fiona Jenkinson, the curator of Beverley Community Museum based at the Guildhall.
We have Albert Rice's wallet. You may have seen it featured in one of the newspapers recently, and the lovely story about that, where he kept his photographs and a pair of nail scissors, and he was shot. The bullet went through the photographs and through the wallet and were deflected by the nail scissors into his lungs rather than his heart, so he survived. So we're very lucky that we have that to put on display.
I'm really enjoying it. We usually come and see the exhibitions and
on a Friday.
on Friday when there's a new exhibition on.
And this is a new one, so we thought we'd come and have a look. We know people, Beverley people, like, well, not them obviously, but their sons and their offsprings and things.
So it's more interesting to us because we live in Beverley.
Because we're Bevelonians.
Grimsby's MP Austin Mitchell is backing a new football stadium on Peaks Parkway. He thinks any potential problems with congestion can be ironed out. That's all for now. Goodbye.
A Grimsby band, Eulogy to Decency, will be performing at the BT Tower in London, the Post Office Tower of Memory, in a competition organised by the Young Rotary Club for ability with business as well as basses.
Music snobs are always saying bands are too commercial, but it's got this young band a spot on the bill at a gig in London's BT Tower. And to get there, they needed more than a good sound. They needed a sound business plan.
Well, the normal battle of the bands is just solely about your music and how you perform, where this is more about how you're going to survive in the marketplace, how you're going to, your intakes, your outtakes, how you're going to basically become big and be able to be financially stable.
But breaking even isn't easy. These days, life on the road doesn't come cheap.
Well, travelling costs like a ridiculous amount, so petrol and trailer hire, and the fact that there's 6 of us, so we have to use 2 cars, we have to factor everything in, and the fact we're only like 15, 16, so financial problems haven't really been an issue before.
The members are all 15 and 16 years old, so there'll be no living after midnight for these voodoo children, who'll be under the watchful eye of their parents.
I don't know, he hasn't said anything yet, but I'm sure he'll think of something. So.
We were in the car the other day with his dad, and his dad was just like, "Are you doing your homework? Are you concentrating at school?" I was like, probably not as much as we should. And then he was like, "Well, you've got to concentrate, you've got to do your homework."
These guys are on a tight budget, so dreams of a grand tour bus quickly bit the dust. But their no-frills approach won't take anything away from this incredible opportunity.
We're not exactly big or anything, so I think the whole fact that we just get to play somewhere, which a band of our status probably wouldn't get to play in a month of Sundays, it's just really pleasing to us. Like, we're really happy about it.
The group has learned a lot from the experience, and though they'll still go their own way musically, this once-in-a-lifetime experience will leave them better prepared for a future life in the fast lane.
Getting to go down there and play something that we've created is just great, and we're going to still concentrate on the music side of it.
James Dunn, Estuary TV News.
I'm joined by Fiona Poulton of the Great Grimsby Family History Group, here to remember the ancestors. Fiona, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You have an event coming up on at the Minster, I think.
That's right, St James's Minster after 29th of July. It's going to run for 3 weeks, and people will be able to go to the exhibition when the Minster's open.
And so what will they be able to see? What will you be displaying there?
It's a commemoration of the commencement of hostilities of World War I and how the social impact affected Grimsby and the surrounding area.
And when you say social impact, of course, we all know that one of the great impacts was a loss of young men.
That's right. And other groups have actually concentrated on that. So we wanted to take a more general view. The people that worked in the munitions factory, a lot of ladies went there, and the health risks that they had, the men that were captured by the German Navy and taken to concentration camps. And then
it wasn't really a concentration camp as such. It was
well,
just an internment camp.
Later concentration camp.
Okay.
And then my pet project, which is Barcroft Street, we've taken one street, it could have been any street in Grimsby or Cleethorpes, and the social impact, we've recreated family groups for each house and found out how many people were at war and the impact it's had on the actual street as a community.
Why did you choose Barcroft Street?
No reason at all, apart from the fact that my father-in-law lived there, and it was the name that kept hitting me as I was going through all the people that nominated people for this project.
And what was the social impact on that one street?
It was quite tremendous. I don't think people appreciate how, well, especially in Grimsby, people lived in family groups. So you would live opposite your mother-in-law and your sister-in-law would live in the house next door. So you would get people that would end up with a father being on the minesweepers, husband being on the minesweepers, brothers being in the army. And you've got this whole community that had people that they were worried about. And I can't just imagine how the impact would have been to the people living there.
What were your sources? Where did you get the information?
Mostly from the internet. There's two main websites, pay-per-view ones, Ancestry and Find My Past. Google, always good for just general research.
Yes.
And we have, as a group, the Great Grimsby Family History Group, we've got quite a few indexes. So we've indexed all the marriages, which obviously gives you family groups.
One of the great collaborative aspects of this is that people who might be studying their own family history, a very popular hobby these days,
that's right,
that they only go back in their own line, as it were. Whereas if you, what you've been able to do, I
sideways,
think, and you've taken lots of people's research of their own families and been able to collate that as,
that's right,
as more of a community history.
That's right. Family history isn't just about collecting names, it's about putting your family into the social aspect of history, if you like. So, and it's so much more satisfying when you can actually look at somebody and think, well, this is how they actually lived.
You mentioned a moment ago the munitions factory in Grimsby.
That's right, it was down Victoria Street. I believe it was where there used to be a milk dairy down at the bottom of, near where the garages are, near the flyover.
Yes.
It was somewhere in that area. I'm sure lots of people will be able to tell me where.
Well, one of the great social impacts of those munitions factories, of course, was that women would go out and do what had previously been thought of as men's work.
The reason we flagged up munitions, my grandmother went to Coventry in the First World War and was a munitions factory worker, and she later developed diabetes. So I'm always concerned about how the
impact of that home front.
That's right. It wasn't just the men that got the medals.
Fiona, I must stop you there, but there's a Facebook page that people can go to.
That's right, Grimsby Family History Group.
Thank you very much, Fiona.
Thank you.
Now, almost unbelievably, here is Dan Kemp with the sports.
Thank you, Hugh. We'll start with Rugby League, where both our local sides didn't fare too well. Hull Kingston Rovers lost by 30 points to 6 away against the Leeds Rhinos, and Hull FC were defeated by Orangi Chase-inspired Salford Red Devils by 35 points to 22. It leaves the Robins in 9th place, 1 point off the playoffs, and the Black and Whites are further 3 points back. Off the field, FC have recalled James Cunningham from his season-long loan at the London Broncos. He's needed as cover for Aaron Jeremiah, who suffered an injury in Friday's game. Next up, the rising popularity of women's football can be sustained thanks to the amalgamation of two clubs in Grimsby. Pre-season preparations are well underway for the Solar Ladies football team, but they will be looking forward to the season more than most. There had been fear that the club may struggle to continue, but Grimsby Borough stepped in to preserve women's football in the area in a mutually beneficial move.
We've got to offer the full facility of football right across all elements of the game. That's female, male, disabilities, and that is what we're doing, and the amalgamation of Grimsby Solar Ladies and Grimsby Borough is just one of those elements that has come together and is really, really exciting for the whole of Grimsby Borough Football Club and, in my opinion, for the town.
I think we'd have struggled week in, week out. I mean, last season it was difficult with the travelling for us all. So this merger is definitely going to help with that. And this facility, I mean, I've played football competitively since I was about 8 years old, and the weather is a massive factor on playing, but with this facility we can play in the rain and the snow, and it doesn't matter. I mean, you know, games are cancelled, but ours is always on because of this. It's great.
That's all for the sport. Back to you, Hugh.
Dan, thank you for being here. That's all we have time for tonight. If you have a story for us, please email news@estuary.tv or contact us via our Twitter or Facebook pages, or pick up the phone and call 01472 315561. Until next time, goodbye.